This is the second battle in the Invitational tournament between Iraklis and I believe his name was Sol Invictus. The name is going to be in the description anyway. Another interesting matchup. It's between Galatia and Suebi. So let's go over Galatia first. 4 Galatian raiders up front, 1 Celtic slinger, then we have 2 Levy freemen, the Galatian legionaries, of course, Galatian noblemen, and mercenary Syrians, light horse, Syrians, Levy freemen, and 1 mercenary Cappadocian cavalry. For Suebi, 6 Modena spears up front. Behind them we have, let's see, 6 Bloodsorn. We have a sword master general. He's not Ariovistus. He's what are they called again? He's a strategist, or I've forgotten. He has second wind, battle rhythm, good for making sword masters kill stuff because they can use headhunt, battle rhythm, and then second wind. Fairly standard stuff, although you usually see Ariovistus being brought as Suebi. Then we have 3 Germanic slingers, and you know I love the Germanic slingers. Germanic scout riders, a total of 4 of those. This army is the very typical Greek Iraklis army. He takes what's good and he brings a lot of it. I don't think I've seen 6 Wodanas being used before though. Especially, I mean, Wodanas with fast charge will absolutely destroy the Galatian legionaries. But the combination Bloodsorn and Wodanas is an interesting one against Galatian legionaries because the Wodanas can tank damage for the Bloodsorn, and the Bloodsorn can use their bonus versus infantry for a longer period of time if they're used together. That is, of course, if they are able to attack the Galatian legionaries together. Now, the Bloodsorn will also remove Levy freemen extremely quickly, and if they are able to remove the Levy freemen quickly, there's nothing here for Galatia that's able to stop the Suebi onslaught. Putting the units alternating down the line here, so the Bloodsorn are in the center behind the Wodanas, and it's not going to be fun for any cavalry unit charging into Wodanas with cavalry counter tactics. Galatian raiders moving up to put pressure on the Germanic scouts. Need to be careful because the Germanic slingers are in range. Wanting to do some damage on Wodanas. Wodanas have a huge missile block chance, so as long as they face these guys, they're not going to take too much damage. And a lot of precursors on the field for Suebi. So these Galatian raiders, they need to be microed well. Baiting precursors might be a good idea, but it's not going to be easy to bait precursors when you have a lot of Germanic slingers running around. They are getting some decent shots off, but the Wodanas just turned around, so they avoided taking those javelins to the rear. Now the Germanic slingers are in position, able to fire. Bloodsorn have lost some men. And the Levy freemen are taking fire. See the Germanic slingers firing on Levy freemen. A precursor volley. Ooh, just missed the Galatian raiders. So good micro there. The Wodanas lost very important precursors. And the Galatian raiders are reducing the hit points of the Wodanas. Germanic scouts, yeah, missed. Hit thin air. This is almost like Charlemagne. Very slow, armies facing off, trying to get the skirmish advantage. And I can see why both players are reluctant to throw everything they have at the enemy, because that's not really what you do with Galatia, or well, it's what you do with fast charge Suebi. But once you have a few skirmishers, it's nice to be able to use those. So the Wodanas, ooh, nice, hitting the mercenary Cappadocians there. It looked like they had attack orders on the Levy freemen, then they turned around and attacked the Cappadocians. So charging into the Levy freemen now. The Levy freemen are going to lose a lot of men. But the Galatian legionaries are going to get the charge on the Wodanas, it seems. Nope, the Wodanas turn around. Very nice this. The Wodanas are engaged. Levy Freeman getting charged there by Wodanas. And here comes some more Wodanas into the mix. Targeting the mercenary Cappadocians, I'm sure. So if their precursors hit the mercenary Cappadocians, they're going to do a lot of damage. And yep, a lot of dead Cappadocians. Wodanas turn around, get hit by Levy Freeman precursors. Wodanas spears going into spear wall, increasing their melee defense to 104, which is quite impressive. So the Wodanas turn around, charge in. The Galatian raiders probably don't want to stay in there. And here's what I'm talking about. Using the Wodanas spears and spear wall, sending in the Bloodsword. Look at the kills on the Bloodsword now, increasing very quickly on the Galatian legionaries. However, they do get charged in the rear from Galatian raiders. And Wodanas spears using cavalry counter tactics here to kill a few of these cavalry units before they can disengage completely. But the mercenary Cappadocians will do a good job against Bloodsword because of the low melee damage. So the Galatian cavalry is being used relatively well here, going for Bloodsword. Bloodsword cannot fight cavalry that effectively. So now the Galatian legionaries are holding very well, although they are not in shield wall. Pulling out the Bloodsword here, that's a good idea, because it will allow them to get a very important second charge on these cavalry units. The Wodanas are losing decisively against the Galatian legionaries. And the Celtic Light Horse needs to disengage because it's in missile range. Now here the Germanic Scout Riders pouring in the fire on the Galatian Raiders. Galatian Raiders trapped between several units, trying to get into melee. The Wodanas are holding, but they're taking fire from the side. The Galatian legionaries have done very well in this engagement. The Bloodsword managed to get a sort of a weird engagement. They get the attack and the rear penalty. Should be able to kill a few Galatian legionaries, but if those Galatian legionaries were in shield wall, they would do very, very well. The Wodanas spears getting a charge on the Galatian legionaries here. And a Bloodsword unit would do very... Oh, look, the Light Horse comes in. Charges into Wodanas on the move. Manages to get into the Germanic Slingers as well. Light Horse, very good charge bonus for their price. And yeah, that's it for them. Cavalry counter tactics will shred Light Horse. A bunch of Wodanas just standing around here and taking fire. And here we go, the Bloodsword managed to get a charge against the Galatian legionaries, and now the Galatian legionaries are going down. Flanking charge from Wodanas. Wodanas spears get hit here by the Galatian nobles. So the Wodanas start losing that combat decisively, as expected. Wodanas turn around facing the Galatian legionaries, so if quite a few Galatian legionaries are dying now. The Bloodsword are also wavering, but they've done a decent enough job. It's just that Suebi, in these engagements, Suebi is using a lot more to kill one unit of Galatian legionaries than Galatia is. So Suebi needs to trade well against the other units in order to be able to do this. The Galatian noblemen pulling out of that engagement, good idea. Taking a bit of fire on the disengage. But there were additional units of Wodanas going in there. Wodanas spears in spear wall won't be able to chase down units, so the Galatian legionaries get the charge against the Wodanas. The Wodanas are put out of their wall and counter-charging, but the Galatian legionaries are going to finish them off. Over here the Wodanas are doing well against depleted Galatian legionary. The Germanic scouts are engaged against mercenary Syrians and Wodanas spears. Pulling them out right about now would be a good idea. There we go. And here the sword masters are going to be able to wrap up a lot of units if they're able to roll down the line here. Taking care of a Galatian legionary, the Levy freemen are rushing in to support. These are sword masters, so it's going to be difficult. But the sword monsters do not want to get charged by this Galatian noble, although it's very depleted. So Headhunt, Battle Rhythm, they are going to get some decent stats now. And you can see their kills are increasing rapidly. 60 melee attack here, 67, 48 weapon damage. So a nice set of abilities. Not as powerful as Ariavistus on an entire army, but using Headhunt and Battle Rhythm and Shield Wall, 55 weapon damage now for the Swordmasters. Very tired, so they need to use Second Wind. But this enables them to do very well, and if you're using your general offensively, it's very important to have those abilities. Now they are exhausted, so no Second Wind yet. Suebi has a lot of units remaining. Galatian Legionaries, Celtic Slingers, Mercenary Syrians remaining for Galatia. Bloodthorn, a very nice late game unit. And the Bloodthorn are running around a bit here. The Galatian Legionaries don't want them to get into the back of the Galatian noblemen. The Swordmasters are now fresh, so the Second Wind was used. Modena Spears charging into the Galatian Legionaries should be able to win this engagement because the Galatian Legionaries are half dead already. And the Germanic Scouts going straight for the skirmish line of Galatia. And that's it for the Celtic Slingers and for the Syrians, I think. The Syrians might be able to get out of there. Yep, looks like it. The Germanic Scouts also pull out. The Germanic Slingers aren't firing. They've gotten some very nice kills here, actually. I didn't notice that, but they've done a good job. Not looking good for Galatia. Germanic Scouts going in for another charge. Charging through the Galatian Legionaries, getting stuck, but also stopping the Mercenary Syrians from firing. At this point, it doesn't matter much. The Swordmasters done a nice job there. So another charge into the Mercenary Syrians. But at this point, it's clear which direction the battle is developing in. Let's see, Galatian Raiders losing slightly, Germanic Scouts, more men in the unit. Now the Swordmasters are fighting Galatian Legionaries with Battle Rhythm, and Galatian Legionaries with Battle Rhythm are terrifying, basically outsworn. Second Wind being used a bit early there, I think, because now they're going to get exhausted. It doesn't matter at this point, though, because Galatia has so little left. So yeah, there we go. Still fresh. That's interesting. Still fresh. But army losses are starting to take their toll on Galatia. Final charge of the Galatian nobles. The Swordmasters are in a bit of a pickle here. They are taking friendly fire. Closing in on 200 kills. That's it for Galatia. So a very unusual Suebi army, not using Ariavistus, but a very interesting one at that, with the 6 Wodenas and the Bloodthorn. Usually you'll see more Swordmasters. The thing with Swordmasters is that they are the only elite barbarian sword unit that doesn't have 45 damage sword, and that's quite important. For Galatia, the Galatian Legionaries did well as expected. The Syrians, I'm not so sure about bringing Syrians against Suebi, because Suebi can shut down skirmish very easily with high missile block and with Germanic Slingers, and the Chief Germanic Slingers did a decent job here, I think. Also, bringing the Galatian Raiders they are a great unit, and you can only bring 2 mercenary Cappadocians anyway, so the Galatian Raiders do make sense. The problem for Galatia against Suebi becomes, under the rules of this tournament, becomes that if melee units, melee infantry is limited, then Galatia doesn't have any good mid-tier spears to bring. Certainly not anything that can contend with Wodenas. Galatia becomes, against Suebi, Galatia, let's just have a look at the rosters here. Galatia, there we go. Yeah. A few problems with Galatia, or not necessarily problems, but a few weaknesses. The general's options are not great. Noble Horse is a good unit, but it's an extremely expensive unit. And the Galatian Legionaries are, of course, great. The Galatian Swords are also great. Huge charge bonus for their price. The problem becomes when the problem develops when melee units are limited, and you're limited to 2 mercenary Cappadocians here, so you can bring the Noble Horse, but once you have to choose between Galatian Legionaries and Galatian Swords, the choice becomes easy. You have to bring your Galatian Legionaries, but then you're stuck with Levi Freeman. And one of the things that Suebi does extremely well is removing speed bump units, allowing their more important units to make contact with the enemy mainline. So very nice battle this. A bit of an atypical barbarian battle with no mid-tier melee units for Suebi, and with the Galatia limited to the amount of melee units they can bring. But I enjoyed that battle, so thanks to Iraklis for sending it. Strength and over.